Hey guys, what's up? Coming to you with a reaction to the Crown Jewel PLE that was earlier today. I just actually just finished watching it. At first I said I was going to watch it at 12 o'clock. Once I finish my errands, I'll probably catch it. But, it's funny. While I was driving back from the gym and it was almost 12. I'm like, well, I'm not really going to rush to go back because I really didn't think about it until I was in the car. And it's funny what thoughts run to your head while you're driving. That it's 12 o'clock here on the East Coast. It's going to be at 9 a.m. on the West Coast. I don't know how many people can get up at 9 a.m. to watch this on the Peacock app or network when you could just watch it later. Not to mention, I know there was a few spots it wasn't, but for the most part, especially on the East Coast, we're going through a freaking odd weather pattern of it being. I mean, it was a really nice day today. I'm like, everybody's going to be outside, which I was with the dogs. Everybody's going to be outside. Nobody's going to be rushing to watch this thing at 12 o'clock. They'll probably watch it once they get back home after they're done with all their activities outside because I'm sure people stayed out as late as possible to enjoy it before the real cold gets here because it was so mild. So I'm like, I'm not going to rush to watch this. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, go out with the dogs, do all my other errands when I got to do it. Then I'll just watch it much later. So I ended up watching it probably around, I don't know, 9:30 or something like that. I will admit I did fast forward through a couple of things that I really wasn't that interested in. So, you know, that's why I'm doing this now. And I would assume that most people have watched it the same way I did, or some are probably waiting until tomorrow. So if you haven't watched it yet, you might not want to listen to this. If you have watched it, I hope you enjoyed it. So obviously, going to start off with the big match, which was Logan Paul and Roman Reigns. The match was pretty much what I said it was going to be. Uh, you know, Pretty much Paul being dominated through most of the match, and then him getting his spots here and there. As I had mentioned before, most likely we were not going to see Sami Zayn, which we did not. And if you recall, Sami has been adamant about not going to Saudi Arabia, so it really was no surprise that he wasn't there. But for the match itself, and let me say this, I did go crazy when it was first announced that Logan Paul was going to get this title opportunity. Now, clearly he was not going to win. They're not dethroning Roman, especially to Logan Paul. Okay. Even though, I know in two spots it really looked like, oh, because I think on that last close one, I think the ref kind of panicked because, they're told to count to three no matter what. That if the wrestler fucks up and doesn't kick out, oh well, so sad, too bad. Okay. But on that last one, it's like the ref purposely, if you just watch it and you'll see that spot, I believe it was after the frog splash, once, his brother came out and took out everybody, just the way he slid his arm is like, maybe he got a little panicked that Roman wasn't going to kick out and he was just trying to do it just to save it. But, um, that was just something I noticed. But I did go crazy about it because I'm like, why are they doing this with him? He shouldn't be getting it right away and all this other stuff. And yes, I did bitch about it. However, you cannot take away, and I cannot take away the fact that Logan Paul has clearly, and you saw this in his match at WrestleMania, you saw this with this match with The Miz, he has clearly put the work in. And he has done an amazing job. And I was just reading, after I finished watching it, reading some of the stuff, and I don't think I have any of those Powerball numbers. They're just doing a Powerball. I did a big pool at work. Maybe my work tickets have it, but I know I don't have those numbers, so I didn't win. But anyway, he's clearly put the work in. He does a great job, and I was reading it afterwards. He got a lot of praise, online. He's got a lot of praise from the people backstage. He's dedicated himself to it, to the training and everything. And he's entertaining to watch. You can't take that away from him. So while I don't think it should have been him, I still give him props. So, a friend of mine actually had texted me regarding Crown Jewel, and I glanced at it, but I didn't want to see the whole thing. So now I see what he was asking me, was, do you think because, his brother was involved in the match, do you think we're going to see a tag team of, the Paul brothers versus the Usos? And, even before I saw that apparently Logan was injured during the match, he has a torn ACL, torn meniscus. I'm sorry, I think MCL, torn meniscus, and I think he has an ACL tear. So before even if he didn't have ginger, my answer was no, because I don't see his brother having the same level of interest. I mean, if they approached him and they said they were going to pay him, yeah, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But now that he is injured, it is possible that while his brother is recovering, Jake Paul could go through the training and they could do a tag team match with them. Now, I think torn meniscus takes 6 to 8 months to recover. So, again, that's right around WrestleMania time that Paul would fairly be healed up and ready to go. I don't see it happening. Could they do it? Yes. I think the team that's going to dethrone the Usos is going to be the OC. That's what I think. Now, things change, obviously, in the wrestling world. You clearly heard the reaction that they got. I mean, clearly Logan Paul was a fan favorite in Saudi Arabia, not so much here in the States, because, he was getting his ass booed through pretty much everywhere that he went when he was on SmackDown. But if they went along those lines, that's not a terrible thing to do. Would they win? I don't know. It depends on how that story unfolds and where things will go to Usos. Who knows? But I don't see them doing a Paul Brothers versus the Usos. I don't see it. Like I said, my feeling on that could change depending on how it goes. But we're not going to see Logan Paul for a while. And that was going to be that was something else that was going through my head. If he wasn't injured, what was going to be next for Logan? Who does he go to next? I think they ended the feud with The Miz way too soon. He probably could have continued his feud with The Miz, and then if you wanted to spin him to Roman, okay. But where does he go now? Does he pivot to somebody like Seth Rollins later on? Will he pivot to somebody like Brock Lesnar? Because that's the same thing with Brock. Where does Brock go now? And I'll get to the Brock and Lashley match, in a second, because that was the opening match for the event. But you don't have to worry about that right now because Logan Paul's hurt right now. But, where would he have gone? I don't know. But when he's healed up, where does he go? Because I can tell you right now, I don't think it will be Seth Rollins because Seth is going to be busy with. I'm telling you, you're probably going to get, I would say in 2023, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 more Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes match because I am telling you, they have to do this. Cody has to be the one to dethrone Roman. And at first I would say it should have been Xavier Woods, and Xavier Woods should have won the Money in the Bank, but they didn't go that route. And I see Seth and Cody battling out for that title. And I think finally that's when Seth will finally defeat Cody, that he'll take the title off him. But I guarantee we are going to get 2 or 3 more matches of Cody and Seth Rollins. So we'll see how it plays out. But the match I thought was very good. You had everybody on their feet. There was a lot of hosh-posh going on with Logan's guys getting beat up and the Usos getting beat up and Sika coming out. It was a lot. There was a lot of mishmash going on around ringside. But it was a very entertaining match, and that's what you really expected. So, if I was grading this thing, I would give it an A+. It was very good. I think Logan sold very well. I think Roman went above and beyond of selling for Logan and making him look really great in the stuff that he did. So, kudos to both guys. Kudos to the match. I hope Logan, heals up good, heals up quickly, and yeah, I would like to see him back. But like I said, who will he go at with next? I don't know. But could we see the Paul brothers versus the Usos? I don't know, because I think by the time, if you wanted to do something like that, the Usos are going to be in another feud at the moment. But again, if word comes up that Logan is healing faster and his brother is interested in it, then maybe they will do it. Maybe they'll do the OC versus the Usos at the Royal Rumble, and then they'll save the brothers for WrestleMania. Who knows how it goes? But As of now, I don't see it happening, but things could change. But um, obviously now, where does Roman go and all that stuff? Clearly, like I said, you have War Games coming up, and definitely, as I've been saying, they are going to be one of the War Games matches. It's going to be the Bloodline. You have Roman, you have Jimmy and Jay, Sika, and you have Sammy. You got five of them. It's going to be 5 on 5. Who's going to be on the other side of them? That's the question. Don't know who that's going to be. Will it be Drew McIntyre? I don't know. Now, at one point, I thought it was going to be Kevin Owens. But if you have seen the reports that the plan was for Kevin Owens to be involved in the Bloodline storyline, mainly with Sammy, trying to get Sammy out of it, and, rekindle their tag team. But because Sammy has been so entertaining, has been doing such a great job with the Bloodline, they're putting those plans on hold. So I don't know if Kevin Owens now is going to be involved with that. I think they can still do it. That leads to it. And, maybe you could start that to get Sammy out of the bloodline because I think I have mentioned it. My vision of this is that Sammy eventually, if he doesn't leave on his own, Sammy is going to be kicked out. Either because Roman is like, you know what, you are the source of the problems with Jay. I got to go with family. We're going to toss you out. Or it could be that Kevin's words are starting to affect Sammy. Roman's questioning his loyalty. Jay's questioning the loyalty, and then they kick him out. So I think either way, it ends up with him getting kicked out, beat down. Like how Legacy, how Evolution did with Randy back in 2004. How he got kicked out of the group. I think that's what they'll do. So that's where we're pivoting to now with the bloodline. Now, we're focusing in 2 weeks now? Damn, Thanksgiving's 2 freaking weeks. Wow. Oh crap, I forgot. We gotta turn the clocks back. Totally forgot about that. Um, I'm sorry, I had the news on mute and I forgot that we have to turn the clocks back tomorrow. So don't forget to turn your clocks back tomorrow. But that's where we are, right now as far as storylines. The question is, who will be the other five guys on the other side? It's definitely not going to be Paul Logan and his brother, and everybody else. But could you throw in a Braun Strowman? Like I said, you could throw in guys who have history with Roman. That makes sense. But how they formulate this, I don't know how that's going to come. How that's going to come about. But that's at least we know where we're going next with the Bloodline. Is they're one of the. They're the men's match for the event. The question is, who's going to be involved? And hell, could they even exclude Roman from that? Possibly. But then who would take Roman's place, That's something else that they could do. I don't think it really makes sense for them to do that. But you know what? Who knows? But as I've said, great match. Hope Logan heals up quickly. And then we'll see where he falls in once he's ready to go. So now I'm going to move on to the Lashley versus Brock match. Now I had this go into a no contest, but the way that they ended the match, I thought was, I guess, fairly good for what they had to do with these two guys. I don't think you wanted to dominate Lashley that he just loses. Suplex. That first suplex was pretty nasty, but suplex. F5 match over. I don't think you want to do that. And I don't think you want to do spear, dominator, spear, hurt lock. That's the end of the match. Clearly, the way it ended, it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to stretch this until WrestleMania. That's what the reports were, that they wanted to try to get these guys to WrestleMania. If that were to happen, I think Lashley needs to go over. I don't think, where Brock is in his career, Brock doesn't need all these wins. I know you don't want him to, not be dominant, but I don't think he needs to win this feud. I think it benefits Lashley better if he wins. Now, if you make it very competitive and Brock wins, okay. But I just don't want to see it be automatically, suplex, F5, that's the end. I mean, I didn't think the match was bad. Like I said, I think they pretty much did what they had to do with it. I did think for a second that they were going to have a pinfall win because they would give Brock the excuse of his knee being injured. But when these two cross paths again, I don't know. I would be very surprised if they had them wrestle again at Survivor Series. I would, the way I would do it, because there's no event in December. The next time I would have these two guys touch would be at the Royal Rumble, and do what you did with Brock and Goldberg. That Goldberg just kept getting the number of Brock and tossed him out. So in this regard, you could have Brock Lesnar toss out Lashley, and then Lashley's like, you cost it to me. Now we're gonna have this fight at WrestleMania. There's a couple ways you can get to it, but I would at least keep them separate for now. But it looks like the way it ended, that's where they're going. It looks like the reports do have some, credence to it, that they're going to try to push this until WrestleMania. And to some ways, it does make sense because, again, as I was saying with like Roman and Paul, where do they go from here? Where does Brock go? After that match that he had at SummerSlam, that was a big thing. Where does he go? Who does he? He has faced everybody. The only real person left that would have some interest, as I said, is Riddle. But Brock doesn't want to work with Riddle. You're not going to go back to Finn Balor. I don't see him doing Austin Theory. I don't see him going to Sheamus. He's not going to work with no name people. Now, if they bring up Braun Breaker from NXT, maybe. But, Brock has to want to do it. And Brock has seemed to veto, some names. So I think, Brock's, I'm not going to say usefulness, but I think the roadmap of opponents for him is pretty much dwindled to nothing to make it compelling that you're interested to see it. Could you do Brock and Braun? Yeah, I guess you could. Could you do Brock and Omos? I don't see Brock going with Omos. So I guess if I had to make the list, the number one person would be Riddle. And I guess behind Riddle, I guess Braun Breaker. And I guess behind Braun Breaker, I guess I would put Braun. I don't think they're going to do Bray Wyatt. And the other thing that maybe I could see is that Gabe Stevenson person, because Triple H, before he had his heart issue, was supposed to work with him at WrestleMania, and they said they want this guy to be the new Brock Lesnar. So I guess next year that's what they'll do. Maybe that Brock is going to retire or something like that, and like maybe you could have this guy be that dominant guy that beats Brock in 10 seconds, like Goldberg did with him at the Survivor Series. But the options for Brock Lesnar are very, very little. And like I said, that list could be even shorter if Brock is vetoing them. But right now in this current climate, that's all who I see that could be next for Brock to work with. So I guess in a way they sort of have to force this storyline with Bobby to WrestleMania, because we've seen Brock and Seth to death. We've seen Brock and Roman. God knows we've seen that match to death. Could a Brock and Logan Paul thing work somewhere down the line? It's possible. Could a Brock Lesnar? I just had the name in my head, but it just fell out. I don't remember who I was going to say, but I guess I could sort of see that too. A Logan Paul, 2 years from now at a SummerSlam, or maybe a Royal Rumble or something like that. Maybe at another Crown Jewel event, you could see these two going at it. But the list for Brock is thin, and we'll see where that goes. But like I said, the match was what it was. I thought it was pretty good for what it was for those two guys. The crowd was definitely hot for it. Let me tell you, Saudi Arabia is definitely Brock Lesnar fans, because Bobby was getting booed out of the building with that one. He was definitely the heel on that one. But it wasn't a bad match. So the match that I fast forwarded through was the women's tag team match. I am very surprised that they put the titles back on Damage Control, because that booking makes no sense. Why did you have them win on Monday and then have them lose on? To me, that makes no sense, to flip flop it, and that is why I guess I could somewhat agree with Sasha. You don't give a damn about these belts. There's nothing meaningful about these things because just of how they've been booked. And I gotta say, I expected more from Triple H on that one. I'm really surprised at that. To me, it makes no sense. And yeah, I know you did the walkie finish because you had Nikki Cross come out and attack Alexa, which that'll be a pretty good match, a pretty good storyline considering where they were before. Um, you know, Now is this going to be the team going for the women's War Games match? Because Damage Control is going to be on one side of it. You know that. And that's where I kind of spill into with Bianca and Bailey with their last women's standing match. The match to me was okay. Some of the stuff that they did I thought made no sense. I mean, the golf cart thing I thought was weak. Weak in a sense like they didn't really make the most of it, I guess. Um, I think it was just whatever they were planning to do with it was just poorly executed. I think I just don't think it was that great. Um, she did sort of go the John Cena Batista thing, where John Cena had duct taped Batista to the ring post where he couldn't get up to answer the 10 count. She sort of did the same thing. She trapped him in a ladder. I thought that was pretty creative on what they did with that. So this is what they're going to use to me to get to the War Games match with them. So I really can't comment too much on the women's tag team match because I fast forwarded through that match. But I am surprised on the flip flop. The Bianca Belair, I'll probably give it like a B minus. I really wasn't all that entertained by it. Like I said, I just think the ending was creative. So I think now what you're gonna have Bailey and her two girls on one side. I would like her to get Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler to be her two partners, but maybe she'll have Nikki Cross. But then who's the fifth woman gonna be? You know, So I don't know where Nikki fits in this. Are we just going to see Nikki versus Alexa on Raw? Will Nikki, inject herself into the match for at Survivor Series during the War Games match and cost Bianca Belair's team the match? Probably that's what they're going to do because you also have the same thing on the other side now. You have Bianca Belair, you have Alexa Bliss and Asuka, who's going to be their partner. Now, they said Becky Lynch has been healing up pretty well, so maybe Becky will come back. Charlotte's supposed to be making her appearance soon, supposedly. But is Charlotte going to work with Becky? Because they have their personal issues. So, how does that dynamic work? Or will we finally get the introduction? I should say introduction. Oh, crap. Freaking Astros won the World Series. God damn it. The only thing I'm happy about with that is Dusty Baker because he's been one of the great managers who has not gotten a World Series. Oh God, as a Yankee fan, just pisses me off that they fucking won. Anyway, could this be the introduction? I keep saying introduction. Could this be the return finally of Sasha and Naomi? That's what I'm curious about. Will we see that happen? Because right now you have a 3-on-3. It's got to be 5-on-5. Who would Bailey pick to be her two partners to complete her team? And who would Bianca Belair pick to complete her team? So there's some excitement there of who picks who. Do you get a returning Becky? Do you get a returning Charlotte? Or do you get a returning Sasha and Naomi? But I'm going to go with Bianca Belair, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Sasha, and Naomi versus Bailey, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, and Ronda Rousey. That's what I'm going with for the War Games. The tag match with the Brawling Brutes and the Usos, again, it was pretty much what you expected, but you knew that the Usos were going to retain. That's who I had going into the match. I'll probably give it a B. Rich Holland, he's the one who injured Big E. There were some sloppy moments with him. And, sometimes I wonder if these guys are like, oh my God, I gotta get in the ring with this guy. You know, I think he needs to be a little bit more safer because there were just some landings that I'm just like, oof. I would probably think twice about what it'd be partners with this guy or being in the ring with this guy. But like I said, the match was what it was, what you expected rather. And the Brawler Brutes were never going to dethrone them. They would give you a couple of close calls, and that was going to be it. The Braun Strowman almost match. Again, it was what it was. I just thought the ending was a bit flat. He just scoops them up and slams them. Are these two going to meet again? It's possible they could do something at Survivor Series. I wouldn't mind seeing them go again because they actually did pretty good to me. I thought it was pretty good. It's very rare that you see Braun Strowman fighting from underneath. It's very rare that somebody could dominate him the way that Omos did. You know, so in that regard, I think you can squeeze another match out. Now, MVP wasn't there. Was MVP not there because he didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia? I mean, obviously, is that why they shot the angle that they did where Braun attacked him on Raw because he didn't want to go? It was just a reason to keep him off for TV. That was something that was running through my mind on that one as well. But for them, I would give them a B. If I had to grade it, I would give them a B on that match. To me, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I definitely give kudos to them on that match. But it's just that the ending was just flat. And I believe that's oh nope, I got one more two more matches. I'm sorry. The Judgment Day. I called it Judgment Day over AJ Styles and the OC because of, as Michael Cole says, that damn witch Rhea Ripley. And I'm telling you, she has just been amazing through this whole thing with the Judgment Day. She's really been amazing. Now, it is not an accident that they brought up. Let me back up a little bit. One thing was, I don't know if you caught this, it's not a mistake that Michael Cole called the rock bottom. He said Roman Reigns hits the Inagi, his version of a rock bottom, somewhere to that effect. Don't think that was a mistake. Now, moving back to what I was about to say, it's not a mistake that Michael Cole told the story about Rhea Ripley that she had her hairstyle to honor the late, great Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix is coming back. Okay? The question is, how are we doing this? Are we doing a Rhea Ripley versus Beth Phoenix match? Or are we doing a Edge and Beth Phoenix versus a Finn Balor? Because, you still have AJ sucked up in there. So that's why I think you're going to see an AJ Styles Edge tag team and Beth Phoenix versus Damian Priest or Dom, but probably Damian Priest, uh, Finn Balor, and Rhea Ripley. I truly would like to see, if the guys want to do a tag team, that's fine, but I would really like to see Beth and Rhea go one on one. I really would like to see that. You know, I think what you could do if you're going to do the tag first, you could have them cheat again to win, and then finally, Beth is like, you know what, you and me one on one, and then we could see Beth, get a victory over Rhea Ripley. That's what I would like to see. I really, because Rhea is just, she's just killing it. That's just the best thing I can say. She is just killing it right now, and just being that nuisance, and just being their version of China for DX. That's what she is. You know, just kicking ass and just being that being that game changer. And Judgment Day had to win. They have to, if you're going to take this group seriously, they have to rack up the wins. They had to get away from Ray, and eventually they're going to have to get away from Edge. You know, now maybe they're trying to stretch this thing out. That when Edge finally has has another one-on-one with Finn Balor, that's the end of Judgment Day. That he's finally going to kill it because that's the point of this. That he's trying to kill what he created. So I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready to disband Judgment Day yet. So I think they're going to save that again. I know I mentioned WrestleMania a lot. I think they're going to try to stretch this until WrestleMania. I really think they are because right now the way Rhea is the reason why Judgment Day is hot right now. And I don't think you snuff that out by having them lose to Edge and them. And then it kind of defeats the purpose of Edge saying, well, I'm trying to disband and destroy what I created. So keep them apart if you're going to do your mixed tag, whatever, but keep the Judgment Day hot right now. Keep Rhea hot right now. And at WrestleMania, you can do Beth versus Rhea at WrestleMania. And similar with Bobby and Brock, you can have them cross paths at the Royal Rumble. Rhea can eliminate Beth, or Beth can eliminate Rhea, where Rhea then wants to challenge her to a match at WrestleMania. You can definitely go that route with that. And then finally, the steel cage match. I really wasn't all that into it. I thought it was pretty cool how Scarlet pepper sprays Drew, then goes and pepper sprays the referee. I don't know why I found it funny when she turned and just sprayed the referee. I don't know why it's funny, but it was just funny to me. But I think that Drew did a poor job of selling that mace. Listen, I've never been sprayed by pepper spray or mace, but I would imagine you do not recover as quickly as Drew did. Enough that you can stop Cross from crawling out the cage, apply, I don't know, ankle lock or a chokehold, and hit all these other moves, and then stare down Scarlett with no problem. And then climb over the cage with no problem. I didn't know you could recover that quickly from being sprayed with mace. I think the match should have ended just like that, with um, she spraying him, and then Cross just crawls out of the cage. They should just did it that way. I did have Drew winning with him escaping the cage, um, or they could have did that. Scarlett unlocks the door again and then runs underneath Drew, keeping Drew from dropping, because if he drops, he's going to fall on Scarlett. So they could have did that way as well. But I just thought, like, the pepper spray thing didn't bother me. It's just the way that he sold it and what he did afterwards. To me, I'm like, you take again, you're taking some of that realism out of it, because you don't. Like I said, I don't believe you recovered that quickly. Now, if somebody got, like, the ref, got water tossed to him or something like that to wash his eyes out, okay, then I would say okay. But none of that happened. But the match was okay. Like I said, I really wasn't into it. To tell you the truth, I was very tempted to fast forward through it, but I didn't. And that's it, guys. That's my review for it. Um, Crown Jewel was was okay. Like I said, they really tried to build this one up to be something fairly decent, and I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it wasn't a bad event. Like I said before, you can make your, this is their blood money, whatever, whatever. But the event went off very well. Remember, there was threats about a terrorist attack. Thankfully, none of that happened. Everybody got there safe. Everybody's coming back home safe. The people at the stadium are safe. So that's important. But what's going to happen next year at the Crown Jewel? Who knows? Like I said, remember, this was a 10-year deal. I don't think, did they go last year? I don't know if they went last year. I know they go in 2020. So I guess they owe them, because it's like a 10-year deal thing. So I have no idea what number we're up to now. They may owe them maybe two or three more, I guess. I don't know. But it wasn't bad. I have to say, I consider this a meaningless thing, but it wasn't bad. It, like I said, it was surprisingly decent, especially when they stacked up the matches. And your closing match was a hot one. Your opening match was somewhat of a hot one. Your closing match was a hot one. So, and the crowd, to me, at least for this event, was really in it than in past events that they had over there. So it was what it was. I had some other thoughts on some things when I was driving, but I'm going to do some uh, separate podcast on that. But I will say, one of them, I was thinking about the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and how I'm saying, if Cody's able to come back, you can't have Cody win, because you can't have The Rock get his match and then Cody have his. But then I thought, remember, WrestleMania is 2 nights. So could you do Rock versus Roman one night, and then Cody faces the winner? Possible. You could possibly do that, but I still think Roman needs to walk out of WrestleMania the champion. But like I said, I'll do a whole thing on that a little bit later. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed Crown Jewel if you've watched it already. If not, and you listen to this, sorry, you got all the spoilers already. Uh, and we'll see where things go. Survivor Series War Games is going to be 2 weeks away. Let's see what we do with those matches. I mean, who knows what that card is going to be? I think the most exciting thing, truly exciting thing, is who is the Bloodline going to face? Because right now it's hard. It's hard to put that together. Number one, and who will be the two, who will Bailey pick to be the final two members of her team? Who will Bianca pick to be the final two members of her team? Now, again, nothing has been announced. You don't know who was in there. That's just me assuming. But to me, it makes sense. That's the way it goes. Bloodline has to be the men, and then Bianca and Bailey have to lead those two. It just has to be. But enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Leave comments, like, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you again with the next podcast. Have a good Saturday night.